Hello and welcome to another blog by me, Lawrence Grant at My Photos Forever. Cue intro. Yes, today I'd like to have a little talk to you about HDR and the settings that you need to adjust your camera to. Now I'm using an XT2 Fuji today, similar on XT3, I guess it would be similar on the XT4. Nikon, I'll mention that along the way, and some of the other cameras, Canons and Sonys, will probably be in the same sort of category. So you know, it's just a case of locating those particular settings and finding them. So here we are today. So what I would recommend, as you can see, I would set all the functions on your camera to automatic. So we've got automatic for the time, for the speed. We've got automatic on the ISO, which you can lock on, and on the Fuji's, as you know, the aperture or the auto aperture is on the lens, so that's on aperture priority, and that is on automatic. So 3A's will usually get you through on a Fuji. Now, one of the other things you've got to check is, because you're usually setting your camera on single shuttering. I leave it on matrix focusing and things like that. So what you want to do is you want to turn that to bracketing. It's just the one before the film. And on Nikon, I know that there's a switch usually on the actual camera button that will say bracket, and you just press that and switch it on. And then you will go into what I'm going to show you now. Is basically on a Nikon, when you go into that bracketing button, it comes up with the menu I'm going to show you now. But on a Fuji, what you have to do is you have to go into the menu, which always goes to the default My. So either shoot up there or scroll the other way. You can either flick it up that way or flick it down that way, or you can then go the long way around. But basically you want to go into the camera icon, and on the camera icon you need to right click on one of the toggles here on the joystick into drive settings, and then on the drive setting you go into bracketing, and the other ones are just for the high and low speed multi-shooting. So into bracketing is the first one, and on the second press of the right hand button, you come to bracket selection. You want to go to AE bracket, which is the second one down, and then on that it is asking you frame step settings. So this is asking you how many frames you want within that HDR bracket. So normally you would want a correctly exposed one. You would want one exposure underexposed and one exposure overexposed. So I have set it there to plus minus 3 frames, and as you can see there, you can go down and you can just set it to -3, so it just purely go from the middle and it will go -3, or you could actually go +3 and then the pointer will go over there. It goes up to 9, plus and -9. Plus and -5 might be an option. Just depends on what you're shooting. But let's just say we're going to do an interior, and we're going to do it on plus and -3. So that'll give us the 3 exposures, and then we are then asked. We move over with our right hand toggle joystick, and we say how many steps of exposure value EV do we want. I would recommend 2. 2 is the norm. 1 will probably not be sufficient. You can see here I can go down to 1, I can go down to 1/3, 2/3, 1, 1/3, 1 2/3, 2, and then it goes up to 3. I would recommend you stick it basically in the middle at 2. That'll give you a pretty good range there. So you want to set that to 3 EV, and then the second question down, it says one frame continuous, and here it's saying one frame or continuous. What it means is that when you press the shutter, do you want to press it individually? Do you want to press the shutter 1, 2, 3 yourself manually, or do you want to use a remote control maybe with the camera on a tripod and then just press 1, 2, 3 and do it yourself? I mean, if subject matter's static, it doesn't really matter. But I would go from one frame to continuous. And continuous will just mean that when you press the shutter, all 3 shots will be taken, or all 5 shots, or not all 7 shots, or all 9 shots, whichever one you have previously set it to. So if we go back there, and then it's the third option is just basically asking you, how do you want to see these frames? Do you want to see them, what's the option? Do you want to see a minus under and an exact one and an over, or do you want to see it, and the options there are saying, do you want to see the right exposure, 1 over, 1 under, the right exposure, 1 under, 1 over, the right exposure, under, the right exposure and over, which is what I tend to do. So you'll see the dark image, then you'll see the you'll see the light image, then you'll see the correct exposure, and then you see the dark image. That's what I tend to have. I mean, they're asking too many questions really, as well we know. So there you have those settings. So as long as you've done that, you're okay. Now on a Nikon, as I say, you would just press the bracketing button on the camera, and it would just say how many frames you want to bracket and how many EVs you want to go. And there's no messing around on that. That's a slightly different situation. So if we take a picture now, obviously we're limited to what I can show you, but if it's, so for example, let's just say I photograph the colour board, and let's just see if it'll cope with it. So it's the 3 shots, 1, 2, 3, and then if I play it back, I've got an underexposed, I've got a correctly exposed, and I've got an overexposed. So let's just have a look what it's saying. So the underexposed, it's saying the ISO was 500, the shutter speed was 200 at f4, and then the next one, I find that the underexposed and the correct one always seem to have the same shutter speed and the same aperture, and what it does is it tends to change the ISO. So in this case it's gone from 500 to 2000, so that's the correct exposure for this. So underexposed is just knocked it down basically 75% of the exposure, and then the overexposed, it says it's gone up to 3200 ISO, but it has actually altered the shutter speed to a 30th at f4, so it's altered the shutter speed as well to go slower, so that it can give you that overexposed. So in both ways, it's altered the shutter. What has gone from 200 to a 30th, and it's gone from ISO 2000 to ISO 2000 to 3200. So it's altered that, but that's just what the camera decided to do. And then what you'll do, if I was to do, say, again, a picture of the setup here. So I've done 3 pictures again, and I'll play that back, and I'll have the again, we've got the overexposed, the correctly exposed, and the overexposed, correctly exposed, and underexposed. So again, what's it said? It said similar sort of thing, and again, correct exposure and the underexposed a similar amount. So it just plays around with it to get what it feels is the best option. So there you have it. And then what you do is you take your SD card, put it into, in our case, Lightroom, and then there's a setting which I'll try and put up on on the video. It's usually something like HDR merging, and then you will just add the 3 pictures into that, and it will let the computer merge it. So hopefully you get a better result. And this principle is always used with a tripod on automatic with no additional lights. So it can't cope with any flashlights or whatever that's going to alter the whole thing out. I can't see any reason why you can't use continuous LED lights in certain places, and then the exposure will just reset itself to whatever it needs, but certainly not ideal for flashlights. So there you have it. I hope that's been of help to you, and if it has, give us a thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll come along with some more interesting little videos along the way, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.